Welcome to Weekend One. I'm Shirtika Pillay. News moves at an incredibly fast pace, and it's inevitable that if you had a busy week, you may have missed something. So let's bring you up to speed with a quick wrap of the top stories and interviews on eNCA over the past few days. This week's top stories. A formal inquiry is launched into the dam wall collapse in the Free State town of Jagersfontein. 10 bodies of men believed to be Zamazamas found next to the N1 freeway near Bosmont. Startling revelations emerged during the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. A dam wall collapse in Jagersfontein in the Free State on Sunday left hundreds of people displaced, at least one person dead and 4 missing. The company that owns the Jagersfontein mine dam says it will take responsibility for the collapse. eNCA's Manqoba Mqunu has been covering this developing story.
A sobering picture of the devastating flood of sludge that hit Jagersfontein on Sunday. Houses collapsed and livelihoods were destroyed. This video by one of the residents showing the destructive path of the torrent.
Because ke mobu fela mona ona ntho engwe e a yentseng e safe hore a boloke safety mo.
Over 300 people have been evacuated, but the big question is, who is to blame?
JDP eNCA full responsibility for community of Jagersfontein, and even rona ba mo re affected out, but the whole community of Jagersfontein ba affected. There is no water because of Johan.
And the Mineral Resources Minister agrees.
The slimes dam belong to the mine, not the department. And therefore, at the time it said, TPS is the owner. So whoever owns it now is a legal successor to TPS. Therefore, they will take responsibility.
But asked why his department failed to intervene, Mantashe had this to say.
In 2007, in December, TPS took us to court, okay? And the judgment by Justice Kruger and Justice Beckley was that a slimes dam here and all other slimes dams are falling outside the MRA. And the MPRDA has no jurisdiction over them. In other words, this operation was taken out of our department.
Meanwhile, the company responsible for operations has refuted claims that there was gross negligence on its part.
We need to have that investigation done, and we can't speculate at this stage. That's the worst thing we can do. So let's all wait for that to get finalized, and it may take time, but we have to wait for that.
The company says it has appointed an independent team to investigate. Government has already launched a formal inquiry. Manqoba Mqunu, Jagersfontein, Free State.
The multi-party coalition government in Johannesburg is planning to remove Colleen Makubela as chair of chairs. It accuses her of being captured and trying to shield corruption in the city. eNCA's Pulele Chwiti Jones has more.
The multi-party coalition government says it won't sit back while the political infighting in the metro affects service delivery. Executive Mayor Popalati says they are now positive more than ever after they've successfully managed to interdict a special council sitting which would have seen a motion of no confidence tabled against her.
Our numbers, as I've already said, are intact. We already passed the 135 mark. In fact, we already passed the 136 mark, and we're just looking at the extras. So there is no need for us to stall, because even if we were to go to council today, we would have the numbers to defeat whatever that the opposition tries to bring.
The multi-party coalition government says it will now take action against the chair of chairs, Colleen Makubela, for bringing the city into disrepute. Makubela is accused of wanting to preside over a council sitting unlawfully.
We have also submitted our own motion as Action SA, obviously backed by the multi-party government, against the chair of chair. At the end of this month, we want to see her go. She must be removed from her chair. We believe that She has been very irresponsible. She has really put the city into disrepute, and we can't have an individual like that. It's unfortunate because we have worked with her so well since the beginning of this term, and she has allowed herself to be captured by people that have no interest in serving the residents of this country.
But the opposition party says Palate's days in office are numbered.
Look, from the Democratic Alliance point of view, or together with the Action SA, those who are in government, I think they are trying to stall the processes, to delay the processes, and to deflect. It's a game of numbers nonetheless. The outcome of the judgment yesterday doesn't derail any process that we are embarking on the basis that whatever that they are running away from, they will still face in the next council sitting. We do not know why are they trying to stall the process, and we're not sure why are they also interdicting council from ensuring that they hold upon their fiduciary duty.
Council is expected to convene month-end, where the acting city manager will preside over the session. Hule Lishiti Jones, Johannesburg.
South Africa could be grey-listed because of concerning illicit cash flows, money laundering and corruption. The Financial Action Task Force team has given the country until October to make changes to get the crimes under control. eNCA's Heidi Jokos has more.
The South African government is scrambling to prove to the Financial Action Task Force that we should not be grey-listed. South Africa has been under watch for some time as we are seen to be at high risk for money laundering and terrorism. The Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola, speaking at an investment conference, has assured all is being done not to be put on the grey list.
Our current economic environment is complicated by several issues which the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services is able placed to respond to. The most recent issue is the potential grey listing of South Africa, which will have dire consequences for our country.
Government has until the end of October to show it's made the necessary regulatory changes. Cabinet has approved a raft of new amendment bills. Should the country be grey-listed, it would be a big blow for investment that President Ramaphosa has been pushing for. It will also mean that there will be an increase in the cost of doing business for local companies with international partners.
We are hoping that they will be able to join hands with us to respond to some of these issues, because some of them, the issues of the illicit cash outflows, happens through their processes and so forth. So when there is a good working relationship between us and them, we will enable ourselves to stop it from happening, and where it happens, we must act on it.
South Africa will be expected to produce a progress report by the end of December this year, and a decision will be made in February next year by the task force. Heidi Jokos in Cape Town.
Stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, Professor JJ Tabane hosts a debate between Joburg Mayor Mpho Phalatse and ANC Johannesburg caucus leader Dada Marero. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Shritika Pillay. In this part of the show, we look at some of the big interviews that our anchors have conducted. We kicked off the news week with a powerful interview by eNCA's Faith Mangope with former President Kgalema Motlanthe. The focus? The current leadership crisis in the ANC.
It almost speaks to the intentionality behind us having to foster business dynamics and business growth, especially for young people in this country. But I also want us to perhaps challenge the notion that we find ourselves in this crisis point simply because there's a leadership deficit in this country, that we have to start conceding. And I wonder, when did we fail in being able to lead? When did we actually fail in being able to lead in this country?
Well, we failed right at the beginning in the sense that people form organizations for a purpose. So, for instance, the National Native Congress was formed in 1912 for a purpose, because Africans were excluded from parliament and the main body politic of the country. And that was its mission throughout. And throughout, many of the South Africans, placed their faith and everything in the ANC. And the ANC itself, throughout the years, said it is waging a struggle in the name of and on behalf of the people. But then come 1994, when that is achieved, that strategic goal is achieved, as the ANC, myself included, what we failed to do was to pause and say, wait a minute, where are these people in whose name and on whose behalf we wage the struggle? What is their role now in taking this struggle to another level? Instead, we concerned ourselves with preservation and carried on as though, in fact, we were meant to and structured to lead even in issues of governance. And just that omission meant that we were going to go in one direction.
Johannesburg City Council meetings of late have descended into chaos. In this week's Power to Truth, Professor J.J. Tabane brought the two warring parties into the same room and hosted a much-needed debate between Joburg Mayor Mpho Phalatse and ANC Johannesburg caucus leader Dada Morero.
So you think at the moment they are totally hopeless, they need to be removed from office in order for you to implement that plan?
Look, JJ, there's no secret about the fact that the DA has no interest in Johannesburg except to collapse it.
Why would they want to collapse it?
And the politics are in relation, and I'll give you the politics because we need to accept that there's also politics at play. Johannesburg has always occupied the #1 space in political affairs of the world or any other issues, including on successes and so on and so on. Now, that is why she then says, by the way, she was in Cape Town last weekend, there was no load shedding. But she doesn't know that the document that she has presented around issues of energy is a document produced by us and left on the table. When she arrived, she got that document. Two, she's not alive to the fact that, in fact, when we were in power, there was no load shedding in Johannesburg. There was no load shedding. City Power ensured that once Eskom, in fact, Eskom ended up buying excess electricity from the city of Johannesburg. The facts are there, you can call Eskom. They will tell you, yes, we used to even buy from Johannesburg because we were clear that the lights must be on in Johannesburg. It's an economic hub.
All right.
So that it doesn't affect the economy.
Let's get her perspective now. Mayor, there seems to be a gap between what the ANC says they left in place and what, you are experiencing now, and he's lumping you now to say you're also part of the Mashaba administration. You guys were in 2016, and whenever you left 2019, you messed up the city. In other words, you reversed the successes that they had put in place before you came in.
I honestly don't know where to start when there are so many untruths, in what he has just said. I really don't know which one to address first.
Just address any that comes to mind.
So first he says they put together the GDS, the Growth and Development Strategy in you said 2012?
Around 2012, 2011.
Yes. And he says one of the resolutions was that they must address the infrastructure backlog. 2012. They took over in 1994. They took over a stable city. They took over infrastructure that was working for the residents of Johannesburg, infrastructure that was maintained. There was budget year on year for repairs and maintenance. They stopped doing that when they took over. They did not think that infrastructure must be maintained. That backlog came as a result of their poor governance and really having no clue how to run a city from 1994. And that's why in 2012, after they had caused that damage, they saw it fit to start talking about how they now fix that damage. The DA was not in power then. So I think he's just contradicted himself. Yes, I still go back to 1995. They had just taken over. They had not had the time that they've now had to destroy the city. They had just taken over, and there was still a semblance of order and functionality in Johannesburg. But over the years, You and I know we are residents of Johannesburg. You cannot lie to us about our lived experiences. You cannot tell me there was no load shedding in the last 2 years when the NC was in power, when you were experiencing load shedding in your house. So, you know, some things really, I think our residents can hear for themselves that they've been taken for a ride.
Eskom's forecasting more power cuts for the rest of the year as the grid continues to struggle. Experts are warning consumers to start investing in backup power. eNCA's Tumelo Motutwane spoke to solar energy expert Yulesh Lachman about what options South Africans have to navigate the current energy crisis.
First, though, let's talk about the very latest coming in, from Eskom and what impact these, blackouts will have not only on our homes, but we're talking business here, hospitals, traffic, with traffic lights not working and lights as well. So the overall impact, just in you being an expert, how would you gauge it?
Look, it affects everyone. I mean, currently at this stage, you've got university students which are studying, you've got kids which are, studying in schools. Most syllabuses are based on online studies and so on and so forth. They need backup power for their Wi-Fi, lights, basics. Up to businesses who then, need to keep their businesses running. Yeah. Keeping their printers going, so on and so forth. Their Wi-Fi, their connectivity, so on and so forth. Everyone has moved into sort of online these days, and with that, you need electricity to power up. So what I've brought in today is, two variables and two all-in-one systems. Very basic, simple, but yet effective.
Right.
I've got a 1,000-watt, 12-volt lithium-ion power backup trolley. Very, very good for powering up your Wi-Fi, your lights, getting your TV going, that sort of thing. You're looking at about 16 grand as an entry level. New lithium-ion technology, batteries last a lot longer run time on the battery as well, as long as a longer lifespan. And then we've got something a bit more intricate in terms of the Livaltech, which is a 5 kilowatt inverter with a Livaltech 5 kilowatt lithium battery. This is efficient for small businesses and homes, simple enough. You just isolate sort of your heavy loads, such as a geyser stove, drop pretty much the rest of the house onto this unit here. Yeah. In terms of businesses, aesthetically, it looks good as well.
Okay.
It's quite silent as well, so, you could mount it anywhere within a beautiful, glamorous office or in your beautiful home or, lifestyle apartment.
Stay tuned to Week in One. Coming up, startling revelations emerged during the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Welcome back to Week in One. I'm Shritika Pillay. Police are investigating 10 murders after the bodies of men believed to be Zamazamas were found near Bosmont in Johannesburg. eNCA's Pulele Chwiti Jones has more.
Gruesome scenes with bodies lying around in the open veld near an old mine near Bosman in Johannesburg. An eyewitness alleges that community members from Bosman went on a rampage to get rid of Zamazamas in their area, who they believe are the cause of crimes in their community.
I live in the Bosman community, it's old Bosman, opposite the cemetery. Now in the cemetery is a little hill, just opposite Highgate, China Mall at the moment. There were 5 Zamazamas standing on top of the hill because that is the hole that they go into, the mine that they actually mine in. That mine probably comes right till about this area, yeah. Then 1 minute I saw the 5 standing on top of the hill. I looked to the left, there was a stream of people running along the train lines along the graveyard. They were not 20 or 30 people, they were about 100 people. And then I looked back at the Zamazamas and they started running away from that mine, and those people started chasing them, and then gunshots started coming. They ran obviously on the back of the graveyard, along the sloot, along all the back houses of Bosman, and they were hunted down by that particular community of people. There must have been 120 of them that were shooting at those Zamazamas, and they clearly came to hunt them down, to close that mine. Because basically in Bosman, when we sleep at night, we hear gunshots every night, Bosman. Between the hours of 10 o'clock the night till about 4 o'clock the morning. That's basically what we live through. But it appears to be that they decided that everyone's tired of this particular occurrences and they took them out. And that's how it looks according to me.
Police are investigating the matter.
At this stage, we do not know what the motive is. The bodies are confirmed to have gunshot wounds, but we will be investigating cases of murder, 6 counts of murder, and then the motive will be determined. But we can say that with information that we have received, that these people that have died are confirmed to be, are suspected to be Zamazamas in the area.
Bosman community members are calling on Police Minister Bekele to deploy more officers in the area. Pule Lichiti Jones in Johannesburg.
Senzo Meyiwa had the second intruder pinned against a wall before a gunshot went off. That's the testimony from Tumelo Madlala, who was in the house when the soccer player was killed. Madlala, who was Meyiwa's close friend, is the state's third witness. eNCA Slindelo Masikane reports.
Yet another dramatic sitting in the North Gauteng High Court. Day 2 of Tumelo Madlala's testimony revealed more details about what happened when Senzo Meyiwa was rushed to the hospital. Madlala says Meyiwa's wife arrived as well as some of Meyiwa's teammates.
Because I think
thereafter, my lord, it was chaotic. There was this chaos now. There are some glass doors at the entrance part of the hospital. I don't know, I think it was Mandisa and Kelly who were at each other, and there were even hair that was lying on the floor.
Madlala then dropped a bombshell.
The state asks you whether are you in the position to identify any of the suspects before court?
if
even if I was allowed to mention it yesterday or to say it yesterday, I was even prepared yesterday to say it.
Yes, say
it is why ngicela breaking aphumela ngaphandle.
Hence I requested, can I just finish? Hence I requested that break yesterday, my lord, because what annoyed me yesterday was to be in the same room as that person.
The trial resumes on Thursday with Madlala still in the witness box. Slindelo Masikane, Pretoria.
Enough is enough. That's the sentiment of angry community leaders in Eldorado Park, who are saying that over 10 people have been gunned down in just a week. They're calling for urgent government and police intervention to curb the current spate of gang and drug-related killings plaguing the community. eNCA's senior reporter, Aviwe Mtila, has the story.
A coffin to symbolize the 13 lives that were gunned down in Eldorado Park over the last week. Lloyd Leisegang's 2 sons are among those that were shot in a drive-by shooting.
Unfortunately and painfully to say, I lost my youngest son. And his brother, he's doing well, he's recovering. As well as another friend of theirs is also recovering, he's back home now. And a few other friends who were injured during this ordeal. And as a parent, you know, it's sad to say that we've been held hostage. Our freedom has been robbed. And we like to get back to normality.
Since Monday night, the community has been camping outside the Eldorado police station, demanding that the guns be silenced.
13 shootings in 2 weeks, that explains itself. Monday morning, we had a protest on Sunday. Monday morning, we had another death. We buried two gunned down boys on Sunday. We were standing in the main road, closing the main road, having a guard of honor. And yes, Monday morning again. So it shows that policing in the area needs to be beefed up.
Because SAPS doesn't want to be out there in the community, we will come to SAPS so that we feel protected. So we have been camping out here since Monday. Our campaign then ends tomorrow. It ends tomorrow and we move on to phase 2 of the campaign.
100 Johannesburg Metro Police Department officers have been deployed to Eldorado Park for the next 3 months.
We will never win crime on ourselves because we are working with SAPS. We are appointed in terms of the SAPS Act, but then the most important people is the community. These people who are carrying guns The community knows them. It's their children, their cousins, and everybody else. So they know them. So they must come out and say that, yes, these are the people who are doing it.
The community is vowed to shut down Eldorado Park by Friday if their list of demands, which includes the axing of the station commander here, are not met by Thursday midnight. Aviwe Mtila, Eldorado Park, Johannesburg.
And that ends our show for this weekend. From myself and the Week in One team, have a super one.